Yeah. Uh-huh.
Men kept dying. But they would have died anyway, wouldn't they? I prepared a report every spring on the number of them remaining. 412 in 1946, 360 10 years later. And then last year when the papers got a hold to the story, it was 127 left. Of the 412 that we started with, 127 were left. So that brings us to Washington, D.C. I guess none of us ended up where we thought we would.
I simply don't understand, Miss Evers. Much as we may appreciate your personal sacrifice, the fact remains that patients with a potentially fatal disease went untreated when treatment was available.
It was for the greater good.
Who's good, Miss Evers? Who has benefited?
We proved that there's no difference between how blacks and whites respond to syphilis. The benefit of that...
If they were white, Miss Evers, if they were white, would these men have been treated as they were? You should know better than anyone.
Yes, I do, Senator. If they had been white, your public health service would never have agreed to do this study in the first place. They wouldn't have dared. If they had been white, you congressmen wouldn't have voted every year for 40 years. If they had been white, somebody would have said something before now because everybody knew what was going on. It wasn't no secret. But because they were black, nobody cared. Because they were black, you, the U.S. government, thought that they were expendable. Now you're trying to push the blame off on me and the fine doctors who did the best we could for the choice you gave us to make. Whether to leave those men in neglect or to give him the best care that was within our power to give. Nursing them men was my life, mister.
But, Miss Evers, what in the world did you think you were doing?
Honoring my oath as a nurse, Senator.
This is Fancy Grace. I am coming to you today to talk about the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment. The Tuskegee Syphilis experiment was a clinical study conducted between 1932 and 1972 in Tuskegee, Alabama. The study was done by the U.S. Public Health Service to study the natural progression of syphilis in poor black men who thought that they were receiving free health care from the U.S. government. Can you believe that, America? I don't know what to say about this. The study began in 1932 to African-American sharecroppers from Macon County, Alabama. They never knew that they had syphilis, and they were never treated for it. And then on top of that, in 1947, penicillin had become the standard treatment for syphilis. I have a few callers. I have a caller from Texarkana, Texas. Yes, caller, go ahead and speak.
Hi, Fancy. I heard about the syphilis experiment this morning, and I think it's really unethical, and it breaks my heart that humans can do this to other humans. The families of these victims were affected in a major way, not only by losing a loved one, but they were also infected with syphilis, and many of their children were born with birth defects. The conductors of the experiment don't even believe that what they did was wrong, but it should be compared to the Nazi experiment if it was up to me. The families of the victims will never get closure, and there's nothing that anyone can do to make up for their pain and suffering. And that's all I have to say about the subject.
Well, thank you, caller. I really appreciate that. It's just unethical. It hurts me deep down to know that our own American doctors are doing this to our people. For 40 years, between 1932 and 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted this experiment. These men were illiterate sharecroppers just looking for free health care. The data from the experiment to be collected from the autopsies. One of the doctors said, "We have no further interest in these patients until they die." I don't know about you, but that really hurts to know that these same doctors had nothing happen to them. I need to take a commercial break. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sony Show. Today we have a very special guest with us. She is a surviving wife of one of the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment victims. Now, many people aren't aware of what the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment was, but it was an experiment conducted from 1942 to 1972 on 399 African American men in the late stages of syphilis. The doctors wanted to see how syphilis affected whites as opposed to blacks, and they had no intention of curing the men whatsoever. And with that, everyone, please give a warm welcome to Maddie Collins. Hello, Maddie. Great to have you here. Great to be here. Now, the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment was a tough time in history, and so can you please tell us how it affected you and your family?
Well, my entire family was affected greatly by this experience. My twins were born blind, and I was affected with syphilis. Thinking about how they did my husband, I was afraid I wasn't going to be treated. I'll never have closure. My husband is dead, and my children will never see the world. There is no amount of money or anything that can make me forgive those doctors for what they did. My family and I will be forced to struggle for the rest of our lives.
Thanks for sharing that touching story with us, Maddie. Now, we're going to take a short commercial break, so everyone stay tuned for more of the Sunny Steven Show.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up, all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. 'Cause they're the ones who's coming up. The world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the best you can. Scream peace, do we mean it? Can you feel it when we scream it out loud? Do you believe that we need it? Do you believe that it could get right? Do you believe that the children of the world deserve a good life? Well, if you do, it's time to wake up your mind. We can make it better, and I know it might take some time, but we gotta start somewhere. How about with you and me? From us it goes to others, then we'll have our unity.
Wake up, all the doctors, make the old people aware.